Do you want to hear about the time that a teddy bear actually saved my life? Well, you are in the right place, so stay tuned. If you didn't already know, I'm Ladybug Jenkins, your lovability coach, teaching you how to know more love, show more love, and grow more love, because love is the best thing that has ever happened in this world. So today, a little story time. I am going to share with you how a teddy bear saved my life. So a little bit of backstory. I am my father's only child, and he was his mother's only child. So despite that, my relationship with my grandmother was challenging, to say the least. I did not feel loved, wanted, or needed by her. And even though I don't remember at the age of 4, I went to my mother and father and I asked them, why does grandma hate me? And they looked a little sad. And they didn't really have an explanation for me, but you have to remember this was 1977, and now we have the advent of social media and all of these things about psychology and getting therapy and sharing your feelings, and that simply wasn't the culture back then. So what they did say to me was, do you not want to go visit her? And I said, no. And they were kind enough, and they did understand enough to not say, well, that's your grandmother. You have to be involved with her. You have to go see her. They said, you never have to go back again. So instead of going almost every weekend, it became, a couple of times a year, maybe during the summer. And I never understood what the problem was. And I'll share with you, I'm 52 years old now, and my grandmother died last year, and I was 51 years old. And I still never fully understood why she didn't love me. And it wasn't my imagination. I didn't make up the way she felt towards me. And as a 4-year-old, I just knew what I experienced when I was with her. And she just wasn't fond of me. And there were lots of things that happened that I'm not going to go into, because that is not what this video is about. This video is about that teddy bear. So all through my youth, I did visit her from time to time. She was angry. She was critical. She was judgmental. There weren't hugs and kisses. And I remember she had one of those big metal freestanding pantries in the corner of her kitchen, and she had the most amazing things in there. She would keep cookies in there and little bits of candy and snacks. And back then you could get, I believe it was Charles Chips. They would deliver these metal tins full of cookies and chips and popcorn and all of those things. And she got them delivered to her house. She kept them in that metal pantry, but the pantry was off limits to me. I was not allowed to open her pantry. I was not allowed to open the refrigerator, and asking for anything out of there was, it was futile. And so I never even bothered, because the answer was always no. And I never understood what her problem was with me. And so for years, I always tried to get her to love me. I was cute, I was funny, I made straight A's, I won spelling bees, but still, for whatever reason, she just didn't love me like that. But the hard part was that her husband did have nieces, nephews, grandchildren, and she seemed to adore them, and she would give them snacks and gifts and do all of these things and smile at them and hug them, but never me. So all throughout my life, I did that. And eventually, my father died when I was young, about 20? Yes, he passed away. And so I thought, because he was her only child and I was his only child, that made me her only living blood relative. I just knew that that was going to be my opportunity to build a relationship with her, and to no avail. And then my grandpa passed away, her husband. And then I thought, okay, it's just 2 of us, because her mother, my great-grandmother, had died when I was a child. So I said, we are the last 2 in the world, surely now. But to no avail. She was still very hard towards me. And then I got into college. I went to college late. And I was so excited, and I thought, maybe I'm going to be a college graduate, not just an LPN who went to vocational school. I'm going to be a registered nurse. Now she's going to be proud of me. Now she's going to love me. And so I was taking my first break after going to college, and I went to the store and I bought this huge, beautiful stuffed bear, and I purchased a card, and I wrote, I'm good with my words, I wrote this beautiful note towards her and how I loved her, and I'm looking forward to being an RN. Hopefully she's proud of me, all of these things. And I was driving from Tallahassee, Florida to Deerfield Beach, Florida, which was about 4 hours. And I just knew this is going to be the visit. I looked good. I was healthy, strong. I was a college student. And I had that bear and that card on the seat next to me. And I had my music going. And I was having karaoke, singing, flying down I-75 towards her house. And then I had this moment. And I asked myself, how is this bear going to be different? How's the bear going to be different from all of the pictures that you drew her? How is the bear going to be different from all of the spelling bees, all of the plays, all of the little songs you would sing her? How is it going to be different? Dancing around for her, always trying to make sure your clothes and your hair were neat with no stains, because nothing could be wrinkled. You couldn't have stains. You couldn't even leave drops of water around the sink when you washed your hands, because you would get into trouble. How is this going to be different? And I stopped singing and I turned the music down. And then I had to give myself a very hard answer. And I had to say, Erica, it's not. At this point, I was 25 years old. I was a 25-year-old college freshman, but that's another story for another time. And riding down I-75 in that little red Toyota Tercel that I purchased right out of nursing school, I had to say it's not going to be different, because there's not enough bears, there's not enough songs or dances or pictures or flowers made out of construction paper to make you someone that you're not to her. She views you a certain way. She values you a certain way. And nothing that you do is going to change that. And at the ripe old age of 25, riding down the highway, I had to accept that I loved her in a way that she didn't love me, and that I wanted a relationship with her that she didn't want with me. I was her only living relative in the world, and she still didn't choose me. She still didn't want me. I was her grandbaby. I was her daughter, and I looked so much like her, even now. And she still didn't want me. She still didn't want to bond with me. She didn't want to love me. She didn't want to embrace me. And I also realized that it didn't matter why. And this wasn't a saying back then, but nowadays we say it is what it is. And a wise woman said, she added on, she said, and it isn't what it isn't. And as hard as that was, I had to accept it. But this is what I did. I put the card in the trash, and I took that bear and I kept it for years, probably a good 15 years. And I took that bear with me everywhere I went. I spent some time with myself instead of going to visit her. I took that bear back to Tallahassee and I put it on my bed in my dorm. Yes, I still lived in a dorm, even though I was 25 and had a very well-paying job. That bear sat on my bed in college, and then it sat on my bed in my first apartment that I rented for myself. It sat on the seat next to me when I took my first travel assignment, and I drove 24 hours, not in a row, from Florida to Texas to work at Brooke Army Medical Center as a travel nurse. And it sat in Pennsylvania, and it sat in cities all over the country while I lived my life and I pursued my dreams. I met and married my husband. But before I had my babies, I got rid of that bear too. because what that bear represented was at an end. That bear saved my life because it taught me that you cannot make someone love you. And that's a song that I used to listen to all the time. I can't make you love me. And even though that song was about romantic love, the sentiment is the same. You cannot make someone love you. You cannot make someone value you. You cannot make someone want you the way you want them, be it a friend or a lover, a coworker, a business partner. You cannot make someone want you, no matter how much you want them. And that is how that teddy bear saved my life, because if I had not learned that lesson before I met my husband, before I started to elevate in my career, before I started to expand my platonic friendships, if I had not learned that lesson, I would have been destroyed, because I would have spent my entire life chasing people who were clearly running away from me. Now, that's not what you expect from a grandparent, but a lesson learned is a lesson learned. And I thank my grandmother for teaching me that. I thank her for strengthening me in that area. I choose to see my relationship with her as a blessing, because it taught me about what love is and what it isn't. And real love comes to you. Real love responds. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to beg for it. And I'm not talking about romance. I'm talking about your best chance for your best life, because love is the best thing that has ever happened in this world, and you don't have to chase it. And that's what I wanted to share. And that's how that teddy bear saved my life. I still remember his little brown face, and I thank him too for what he represents. So just remember, you are loved, wanted, and needed, or you would not be here. And I love that. And I love you too. Amen.